Wow. Love, love like fire. Xam ngeen rek affaire bi xam ngeen fan la skincare la 2020 lañ wax de waaw fii nag mooy Kerr fan Kerr zero tache perfect skincare saa su ne rek niñ ko dee defee rek loo lañ soxlaati rek maanaam bu ngeen am problème ci seen skin yéen xam ngeen fan la fii ngeen di ñëw suma xarit yeeg am di jàmm yi nga xam ne taas daf lañ sonaloon xam nga doon xeesal bel la ka xum éneew ma lañ ko nag waaye just in case comme ni ko gars yi di waxee rek en cas just in case loolu xew xam ngeen fi ngeen di ñëw skincare plus si yu baax rek la ñoo dox nag ay baax rek fu ne la ñoo dem ci réew mi di lañ indi rek nag products yu baax du Paris du Italie du USA du fi mu nekk nii sax boole nañ ci nag Sweden fu nekk lañ leen a indilee products bu dee tamit nag da nga ñuul rek ñu lay jamaa natural beauty that melanin dripping we do have stuff for you as well emuñ si skincare products rek ñu ngi ci cuub yi tamit fu ne la ñoo jaar in fact sax last commercial bi ñu defoon waxuñ leen woon ne dañoo dox ci ay kawar 9A grade rek nag waaw we do have bundles as well hair si lu ne la ñoo dox ñun ñu ngi ci rafetal jigéen rek luy taaral jigéen rek waaw boo leen di tukki tamit
Very much for coming. We begin the proceedings with introduction of members of the high table.
Next door.
There was some fictitious.
Yes. You know, this is one academic in history. But when it didn't happen, it was a friend.
The last media of Union was at the stadium.
Yes, that was the last. Because Sri Lanka was a meeting. Still, I was wow. Well, they did the photos. But they took a lot of photos. There must be some serious there also.
I think we are moving on.
But we did not start.
Like I said, beginning with the introduction of members of the high table. The President, Mr. Babadu, flanked on his right is the first Vice President of Haji Bakari Kejani. On his left is the third Vice President, General Langton Bonkamba, Executive Committee Member Alhaji Sadi Kamasu, the General Secretary Lamin Mjasi, my colleagues, the Director of Competitions, Malcolm Perjadi, Protocol Officer, Mohammed Senior, Admin Officer, my colleague, Communication Assistant, Ibrahim Suare, IT Officer, Omar Toure. We welcome all media representatives from all the media representatives from in the country. We thank you for coming. Today's agenda of the press conference, as stated in the press release, is the Gambia versus Gabon game, more specifically the incidences that happened at the airport by the Gabonese players and officials. And I want to bring on the president of the Gambia Football Federation, Mr. Lamin Tababa, who is the principal speaker, to make a statement on this matter, and that will be followed by questions and answer from members of the press. Mr. President, you are welcome.
Thank you very much, Acting Director of Marketing and Communication, Mr. Balde, colleagues, First Vice President and Second Vice President, and Mr. Kamaso, members of the GFF Executive Committee, our General Secretary and staff, ladies and gentlemen of the press, good morning. We once again thank you very much for honoring our invitation at a very short notice. This shows the importance you attach to the subject matter. The purpose of this press conference is to clarify our position on the avoidable incident between the Gabonese national team delegation and the public health officials at the Banjul International Airport on the eve of our African Cup of Nations match against Gabon last Monday. A lot has been said on the matter that has generated a massive international media attention, who only relied, or most of whom relied upon the version as stated by the star football player, Kerr, shared with his followers on social media. It is against this backdrop that we call this press conference to state the facts as they were, including the unfair treatment meted out on our delegation during the first leg in Gabon. Otherwise, we would have waited for the ongoing investigation to take its course to avoid, to avoid interfering in it. As we are all aware, CAF has referred the matter to its disciplinary committee. During this pandemic, countries have their own standard practice when someone entering a country. On top of that, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, has adopted its own requirements with regard to COVID-19 tests in line with FIFA standards and protocols. Thus, the CAF rule states unequivocally that any individual who is departing from a country or area or transiting through a country or area with current COVID-19 community transmission status must provide confirmation of a negative PCR test result conducted no earlier than 72 hours before departure. The new rules also subject team delegations, match officials, and match appointees to another mandatory PCR test that should be conducted no earlier than 48 hours before the match, and participants' access to the stadium, which result CAF said must be made available 2 hours before the departure to the stadium. It is a result of these rules that every member of our delegation flew into Gabon on time and with negative COVID-19 test result. But even with that, they were subjected to 2 separate tests both at the airport and at the hotel. Because of the respect that we have for the laws of their country, we complied without hesitation and hope that they would act in the spirit of fair play. It was at this second testing at the hotel that one of our key players, Suleiman Marreh, returned positive, despite entering with a negative result conducted in Belgium prior to his travel. He did a third test last Saturday, which purportedly came out positive. He's still stranded in a hotel in Libreville. I want to also state that the Gambia Football Federation had on numerous occasions attempted to ensure the cooperation of its Gabonese partners to communicate their arrival information to make sure all necessary arrangements were made for their smooth transportation from the airport and throughout their stay in the country. But all efforts proved futile. I also want to be on record to inform you that neither their advanced party team nor their ambassador or their ministers' arrival details were communicated to us. Thus, we are not aware of them arriving into the country. All we know that they were on the main list, but when they were arriving, we never knew. The ambassador came into the country without notice of the GFF. The minister came into the country without notice to the GFF. Thus, he couldn't be accorded the necessary protocol. And worst of all, the advanced party who came into the country to prepare the grounds for their march came in, they never called at the GFF, they never contacted the GFF. They did everything on their own without consulting us, which is unprecedented in football. Thus, we provided, as per the regulations, we should provide them with a bus and a second vehicle for the officials. But our vehicles were left abandoned because they went and made their own arrangements without even consulting us. So I think this is very important. A whole minister entered into the country without a notice, formal notice of the Federation, I'm not sure of even of the government, because Gambian protocol and hospitality, forces us to ensure that we provide the necessary protocol. And I think that's really is a breach of our diplomatic protocol. And also, the first date they announced was arrival on the 14th. That's the early hours, late night on the 13th. That was the day the match was played on the 12th. They announced that we are arriving here after the match. They are coming. In fact, they will be coming together, almost following with our team to arrive here on the 13th. It's on record. They changed. They communicated that we are coming on the 14th. They changed. They said they are coming on the 15th at 2000 hours, 8 p.m. Until 09:35, we never had any communication from them. We instructed the General Secretary to write to CAF to inform them of our frustrations for the Gabonese delegation not communicating the arrival time, because we are trying to avoid the possibility of any lapse on our side that we arrive, we are not received here and there. But notwithstanding, the GFF protocol officer was sent to the airport, and the only information we could get were from the control tower. We are given 10 o'clock and later midnight. And my information is that they arrived
5 minutes to 12.
5 minutes to 12. 23:55, as opposed to the claim by my colleague who said they arrived at 11:45. But the records at the control tower will not lie. They arrived 5 minutes to midnight, surprising us. I think it's very important. And as per the information we received from the health officials at the airport, when they arrived, like any other passenger, you must provide or produce to the health official a certificate to show that you are COVID-19 negative, which should not be earlier than 72 hours for any traveler, which they refused to hand over there. I understand they were just holding it, say, these are our players, and the other folder, these are for the officials. That's an insult to our sovereignty. It's an insult to our laws, because it never happened. Our first batch that arrived in Libreville were tested at the airport. And they insisted they were going to test the whole delegation there. If they should go home and make arrangements with their public health officials to make sure that the second batch that came will be tested at the hotel, that's their own prerogative. We wish we had that opportunity from them, to give us that opportunity also to have that plan. When we got frustrated and not knowing when they will arrive, and in order to meet the deadline for the provision of the test result before the March, we know our capacity, a third world country like ours, we are not very sophisticated. We know it's going to take several hours before the samples will be tested and the results out. We don't want to be found wanting for not providing the test results of the players and officials as stipulated before the March, as stipulated by the regulation. Hence, the decision of the public health officials to mobilize a team for a fast-track purpose to ensure that when they arrive at the airport, the specimens will be taken and the process overnight so that the results will be available in time for the match. That's the reason. That's the main reason. When they arrive, adding salt to injury was when they refused to hand over their test results, which they claimed were negative, and that brought us suspicion. And then they said, no, if you cannot provide us with your test results, like any other passenger, then we cannot allow it go in. Then, in fact, you have to do the test. I don't want to talk for the public's health, but we are all aware of the protocols. Even where you provide a test result from, where would I say, from WHO, if the health officer on the ground is not certified, he can force you to do another test. He can send you into quarantine to do this is what our law said. So it's not a question of X has passed through the airport, he was not tested, and Y also passed. That's not my business. That's entirely in the purview of the health officials. A little after 1 a.m., the ambassador called me and then pass, and then, you know, was saying that we are here for several hours and the people wouldn't let us go. I said, what happened? They said about the test. And talk to your colleague. He passed the phone to my colleague, the president of the Gambia Football Federation. He repeated the same thing. I said, okay, give me time, let me find out, because I didn't know what was happening. Let me find out, I don't know what's happening. Then this time I called the GS and I started consulting. I was told that they arrived, they would want to surrender their test results, and they would also want to do the test at the airport. Then before I called back, he called again. I told him, my colleague, my brother, because we are very good friends. Myself and Kerr, and we are very good friends. If you want to compare it, we are in the same view in CAF, I will say that, because we hung out together. He's a good friend of mine, definitely I can say that. He is a good friend of mine. I told my brother, I found out, but I understand it's a health issue. And these are things that are beyond us. Can you comply? He said, okay, we'll do it, but this is Africa, and we will see. This is Africa, c'est l'Afrique, on va voir. Mais on va faire le test, mais on va voir. That's what he told me. I said, okay, merci. Désolé pour l'inconvénient, mais il faut le faire. Then, I thought it's close. I went back to bed. After a while, I think I called you or you called me. Yes, whoever. I didn't sleep that night. He called me and said, yes, that's still a stalemate. I said, what happened? I think I was going to tell you, these things are doing. He said, no, they are still refusing. They said they are not going to do the test. And now, Obama and others are viral on the social media, showing photos. I said, okay, that's their wish. That's what they want. They want to add another feather onto their popularity, maybe, you know, with all due respect to them. So that's how it started unfolding. We talked, and then after GS called me again, I spoke to the chairman of the medical committee, who's in touch with the medical staff on the ground. The same thing were manifested, that they refuse to hand over their purportedly negative test result of COVID-19 to the health official. Which country, who dares travel any part of this world and refuse to do that? Where? I've been traveling over, recently during this COVID period. You don't even think about it. You're even worried whether they will even accept it, whether they will not say it's late or it's forged. Because they have the power. So then that's how it all started. And then later in the day, later in the morning, I understand, I got a call again. You know, I think the minister came in and the ambassador to appeal to the public health officers now, let them allow the boys to allow them to go to the hotel in the morning, they will do the test. Fine. That's between them. I don't know. Even if they will not test, that's not even my business. If the public health officials will grant that respect and honor to the minister in his person and ambassador, then fine. That's very well in line with protocols and good neighborliness or good bilateral relationship. That was, we didn't have any hand in that. And they went to the hotel. And then, to yet another surprise, that in the morning, when the test team mobilized to the hotel, they refused. They said no, they are not going to do the test because they had a 48 hours, a valid test result that they could use for the match and other things. So there's dishonesty in that. Why would the minister fool the public official, promise that they were going to do the test at the hotel, and in the end, then renegade on it? Why would my colleague also, with all due respect to my very good friend, Kerr, deceive me, assuring me that they were going to comply at the airport, only to renegade on it? If I had known that he wouldn't do it, maybe something would have happened. But that's the reality. And we all know about what the rest. When they come for the match committee coordination meeting here, the match commissioner gave his version of the story. They were here. Later, CAF intervened and organized a video conference between both parties, including some officers of CAF, including the General Secretary and his deputy, and the Director of Competition, and the Technical Director. And then the match belongs to CAF. They laid down the rules. They said then the match should go on. Because their first instinct, first impression was, I believe they were carried about by the social media, other international tabloids and media reporting about the whole issue. And they said match should go on. Hey. So I said, no, let's play, let us not play. I said, why? We have to play. If we did not play, we're going to lose. They're going to take the points. I give it to them. That's what happened. And we cannot do anything about it. The risks are there, very high risk. The coach was very paranoid. He was very confused because these are players you don't own. You have to convince their clubs that you're going to put A, B, C, D in place. The clubs read the regulations, our own, the protocols they know about FIFA's, CAF's, and our own. And that convinced them to let their players on. Out of the... And some did not. Some even refuse to release them. And they will say, oh, alhamdulillah, we thought about it. Just imagine what's going in to the minds of Suleiman Marreh's club today, one of our key players. Even the third test that he did on Saturday, the result would have been out the next day than anywhere in the world. But it was tactically delayed until Monday because they knew that we may have the capacity of flying him in to play the match. That's the reality. That's the reality. So where is the sportsmanship spirit? I'll come into Suleiman's case later. So this is how the match was played. We did our best, and then the result is not everybody. But what I can assure you is that the Gambia Football Federation has no intention, and we don't have any hand in the process. And unfortunately, with all due respect to my dear friend Kerr, the president of the Gabonese Football Federation, General Lantom Montamba owes him 1 million apologies. He owes General Lantom Montamba 1 million apologies. The man was at the time enjoying the middle of his bed. He didn't even know what was going on at that time. The only people at that time communicated was myself and him and the chairman of our medical committee, Omar C, and those on the ground. I was not even talking to her. Only Kerr was on the ground. Kerr, it's only the protocol officer was in the ground. Why? If I had known and clearly that my colleague president will be arriving here, that's normal. I would have been at the airport to receive him. That's normal. But we are lost in the arrival time. You didn't even know when they are coming. I cannot just go and start. So then that's the problem. Otherwise, senior members of the Federation would have been there. If we had known that the minister, a whole minister of Youth Sports, travel into a country, not be received by his colleague, not be received by any senior officer of the Federation, then there are more to it than what they are saying. That's deceitful and unfortunately very dishonest on the side of our friends. Jana Tamba was nowhere around the airport. If they had any evidence to show that, because they are taking photographs, the way they are posting the photographs on the social media, let them post the face of Jana Tamba. The whole world will see it. And I call on my friend to apologize to Jana Tamba. It's all out of frustration and desire to fabricate and cook a story, and that won't work. If it were not the action of calling a press conference and piling up certain non-facts together, we would have just issued a short press release to inform the Gambians of what happened, but we would have gone into details. But if you have seen what happened in there, when it comes to, I don't want to elaborate more on what we went through in Gabon. Gambians, we are used to that. We have a thick skin. Anytime we go and play, we say, no, this one we don't. And then we forget. When they come, we often answer them. I wish you see the field that our team trains in Angola, in Luanda, the two times we went there. It's not better than Serekunda West or Serekunda or even Pakmboy. It's not better than, but we took it. We even tried at one point even to hire a private-owned, a private team, field, so that the boys can have a good training field. But nobody heard from them. And when they come here, we receive them with open hands. They are friends. Football is meant for that, but not with hostility. In addition to subjecting our players and delegation to 2 tests before the match, a lot of inconvenience ensued. And one thing I want to correct. It was in his press conference, he said they had chartered a plane to take us from Libreville to Franceville. But we had informed them as early as the 7th of November, that we are coming with our own chartered flight, and then we will use the same flight to Franceville. Can we make arrangements for the flight to land in Franceville and also to depart from Franceville to Banjul? Because we are aware that Franceville airport closes around 11 p.m. whatever. And the coach wants that after the match, they get ready, they come to Banjul. Perfect. The emails are here. And all these emails are copied to CAF. I'm sure they will be very useful for the investigation panel. On the 12th, that was about 5 days before the match. Now he's saying that we don't inform them that at all. Very dishonest.
It's on the 7th, 5 days before.
On the 7th, before the match. You had given them ample time. But for them, they didn't even have the courtesy of telling us we don't need your boss. Yeah. Until they came, they made their own arrangements. We are better. Even if we had informed them that very day, fine. I think it's still better. We show respect to them. But if you're saying that they didn't tell us, that's not true. In fact, the emails are around, and everything is here. Because these are emails that I ensure that everything we communicate with them. Because we had a rough start with them. First, the issue of the visas. We had to follow, in fact, we ended up by writing to CAF When the email to CAF dropped, barely 30 minutes, they send the approval for the visas. Barely 30 minutes. While we will follow them, because otherwise our player will have a problem even to start moving, because most they assemble at Brussels. So even from their point of departure first, they will need these visas. And for them also to send us their list so that we can prepare the visa on arrival. We had to literally beg them about 3 emails with a series of WhatsApp messages that the General Secretary, no response. Just to avoid being found wanting, because at the end of the day, when they want to come and we don't have the visas, we are not, they will say Gambia denied us visa. Especially what we learn, we experience from them now. All the records are there. We had to literally report them to CAF to ensure that they send us their list and the passport copies to enable us to prepare visa on arrival for them. The facts are there. The issue of the flight, of our charter flight to have landing right in Gabon was another nightmare. This was arranged by a privately owned company, and I'm sure the investigators will reach out to them to find out what happened. In fact, there was a time it was a point of desperation. There was no response. I relied on my relationship with my friend, my colleague. I communicated with him. I said, okay, I'll get back to you, I'll get back to you. When they got that landing right, it did not include Franceville. We had to struggle to get that. They got that at the last hour. In fact, the departure at the airport was even delayed because the landing right was not handy at the time. It has to be delayed for some time. Now we anticipated that departure from Franceville, because Franceville normally they said is not for international departures, but because of the relationship, because of the urgency, they can have a waiver, and we were assured that they were going to give waiver. That was the time I was talking to my question. No, c'est réglé. You will have had a problem. There will no problem. It's okay. But the guys who were chartering the flight, the agency, were on my neck. Mr. President, you have a problem. Because if it didn't happen, not only it's going to disrupt our operations, but there are very heavy financial, implications for us. And we don't want to share that burden with you, on you, because it's a responsibility. And then we went. They said, okay, it will be fine. You will fly. What time do you want to fly out? They were given the time to fly out from Libreville after the match. Was it 1 a.m. or 1:30? I can't remember actually. 1:30. The match was played with the assurance that they're going to fly out. Everybody from Franceville to Banjul. Immediately after the match, quick dinner, freshen up to the airport. Only to arrive at the airport was closed. Closed. They said, oh, the people, they are not working, they've gone home. Just imagine frustration. If we had not had a good plan, we would have been in disaster. But because of the efficiency of the company that we use to do the arrangement for the hotel, they were able to get back to the hotel, spend the night. And then, I think the first departure schedule was 2 p.m. or 12 from Banjul, something like from Franceville to Banjul. That was changed more than 3 times because at their behest, because of them. The team could not depart until about 5 or something like p.m. instead of 2, 12, 2, 4, whatever. They delayed that, it was delayed until that. So, but we didn't make any noise out of that. Because these are things, sometimes when you talk about it, people think that we are looking for faults and you want to complain. We don't want, because these are things where we feel really shouldn't happen. But notwithstanding, it's not going to kill us. So when all those things happen, they came here without even confirming their arrival time to us. They just sneak into our country. I will use that word, sneak in. This poor gentleman was at the airport, he doesn't know what was happening. We had to rely on the control tower. Where is the spirit of sportsmen? Where is it? Where is the genuine? What were they trying to achieve? You arrive at the airport also, you refuse to surrender your COVID test report to the competent authority. He has a mandate to quarantine you wherever he wants. He can even quarantine you at the airport. So them sleeping on the floors here and there, it's their own doing. They wanted it. Nobody forced them to do so. If they had complied, they wouldn't have been there. And nobody kidnapped anybody. That's a different thing. If anything, they were unruly. You've seen that they had fracasses with the security and immigration personnel, some of them even pouring water on them. And nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about that. We've seen the videos, what they were doing. Sleeping on the floor, fine. Maybe sometimes the tile is very cool, maybe you enjoy it. But it's not a problem. We don't wish that for them, but it's not our doing. It's not our own doing. Let's come to the other dishonest statement about Suleiman Marreh. Suleiman is our player. That's not their business. It's not player. If I tell you how many calls I received my colleague about Suleiman, he was more concerned about Suleiman than his own players. You know, your boys at the hotel want him to. When I called Suleiman, I said, Uncle, Mama Femfonte, nobody told me anything. I'm here, I'm fine. The hotel didn't tell team managers here. You talk to him. Even the day the team landed, you were in the same car, yourself and coach. I talked to you and coach talked to him. He said, no, as far as I'm concerned, there's no imminent eviction. No. The hotel wanted him out because I said, where is he going? Where would he go? So I see the handy hand beneath. All of a sudden, we received an email from CAF asking us about Suleiman Marreh. We replied, and up to today, there's nothing from CAF about it. If he should be concerned about Suleiman, we are more concerned about Suleiman. Not only that, he would have made a difference if he were on the pitch that day. I think we all agree with that. But he's our own. We don't want him to be there. There's not a day that I will not talk to Suleiman, except the day of the match itself. Every day I will talk to him. Every day the team manager will talk to everybody. As far as we are concerned, the situation he is not desirable. He didn't want it. We don't want it, but we have less to do about it. They reported to us. And then what we did, when we realized they are the ones trying to push the hotel to send him out, we make arrangement. It's also lying that they make arrangements for Suleiman to be moved to another hotel. That's not true. It's Max Sport that arranged a Portugal campaign. We outsource the arrangement for hotels in both in Libreville and Franceville. They are the one I have the text message from Yusuf. After confirming with coach and then the team manager, he consulted me. We are partners. I said we got another hotel for Suleiman where he will not be hassled. He can stay there as long as possible. Do you approve it? I said, why? I approve. I have all those. I said, fine, go ahead. Suleiman was moved. We made arrangements with the Gambian community in Libreville also, who they will not only, I think, had only one opportunity for them to allow. They made so that they will not allow anybody to come and visit him. They did that. But if at all, for example, one reason and a technical reason that we didn't have anybody there, that's also, they calculated it. The executive committee member, Mr. Numukunda Kanyi, was designated and he agreed to stay over with him. It was arranged with the Gabonese that upon their return from Franceville to Libreville, they lift him to Libreville so that he can join. The last minute they said, no, they are not going, they have technicalities. And knowing them at that point in time, you can also leave that old man also in a no man's land because you don't know what they're going to do. It was just about when they were going to the airport. Then we came in. We have a team manager. But we know the value and use of everyone. We know the importance of the man. We know the arrangements here. It's left for us now to decide who and when to. Expecting that when Suleiman would do the third test on Saturday, he'll be freed and he can fly in. We had already booked and everything was done for him. He did it on Saturday. The result never came on Sunday. It came late Monday. They said again positive. Can you trust them? But what I can tell you, Suleiman is well and good. I know the situation is not the least desirable. We abhor it. We wish it didn't happen. But because of this attitude and behavior, we suspect foul play. Definitely, we suspect foul play in the whole process. Since they cannot trust our own medical people to ascertain their test result, how would we accept their test result when it comes to Suleiman? When they refused to do the test at the hotel here, and followed the decision of CAF, it was at that time they handed over their test result to Omar C, chairman of our medical committee. The match went on. In fact, it was useless. It has no use. It has no use because with or without, the match will have a play. Whether they are purported, whether they are fake, whatever, we don't know. But we, with goodwill with it, when we hope and believe that all of us who had interacted with them or through third parties, that we are all safe. But this only were in the 48 matches that were played over this period, that match was played without a particular team undergoing a test in the country. Nigeria went to Sierra Leone, despite they saw this, they were tested at the airport. Madagascar, the country of the CAF president, in Cote d'Ivoire it happened. Mali recently, Mali in Namibia, he said they refused. But when the tests were conducted, they got 8 cases. How many of Gabonese can we guarantee are not carrying the COVID, the virus? How many of us can guarantee that? But may Allah save us all and save our young players and the officials. Ladies and gentlemen, in a nutshell, I think this is what I have to. And then, really, it will be a big amiss if I did not also extend special thanks to the government of President Adama Barrow through the Minister Bakar Baji his permanent secretary, deputy permanent secretary, and the National Sports Council for all the support that were rendered from the preparations to the match. And this includes the training camp that was held in Portugal, both financial, logistical, and moral support, and their solidarity with us at this very trying moment. And I can assure you that we will also not relent in our efforts to ensure that we achieve our long years of dream of seeing our country to its maiden AFCON finals. This is a challenge for us as a country, and we need everybody's hands on deck. Not only hands, but hearts and minds. This is Gambia. It's Gambia we have. We can have divergence of views here and there, which is natural, which is very constructive, it's helpful, but let us have the same objective. We have nothing to hide, and then we are looking forward to the investigation to start so that we can put the facts on the table. And I'm sure the ladies and gentlemen on that committee are people of integrity and people of great competence, that they will do justice to the process. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, President. We are now moving on to the next segment of the press briefing, and that is question and answer. If anyone has a question, you have a query, you want to share about, please raise your hand up, identify your immediate institution, and the question will be directed to the President, who will follow direct the answer. Yes, gentlemen.
Yes, my name is Momo from QTV. My question is, it will start with a disappointment. Disappointment in the sense that I think African football has gone a long way, and we should be passing the stage of, teams being poorly treated. Be it Gambia, be it Gabon, be it any other country. When you travel to a foreign country to play football, I think for the spirit of sportsmanship and for the spirit of fair play, it should be on the pitch. Both teams play. Whoever emerge winners become the winners. But with these things happening still in this 24th century in African football, it's really disappointing. And you people being at the helm of football in the Gambia and also maybe at the CAF level, what would you do in terms of changing of policies and talking about issues so that these things are avoidable? Because it's really disappointing. It has put the whole picture and image of African football, into bad light across the world.
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's unfortunate, it's embarrassing that we are still find ourselves in that situation. It's a big task on us as member associations and also on CAF and FIFA. I think that's nothing more than stiffer regulations and guidelines which should be implemented without any partiality. That's very important. If laws and regulations are laid down, it should be for everybody. It shouldn't be wait for Kawa and implemented or enforced for Omar. That's it. So I think it's a difficult one, since everybody is on top of the issue. It's aware of the issue, and I'm sure, I have no doubts that at the level of CAF, because at the end of the day, we as member associates, as I said, despite what we went through here and there, but we had an open mind, and we would have loved to welcome our brothers, as friends, as colleagues in the pitch. But unfortunately, their attitude of coming to us has left a lot to be desired. Was not friendly. A whole minister going to a country, flouting all protocols, bilateral and diplomatic protocols. An ambassador crossing to a country, the same thing. And you have a whole president of the Football Federation who doesn't even have the courtesy of letting his colleague, giving the colleague the pleasure of receiving him at the airport and hugging. And we've done it here many times. All the presidents that came here, I met them at the airport. I met them at the airport. That's Gambia, that's what we know. So then you can see that, then maybe that's something that is premeditated. They had a preconceived mind. If an advanced party traveling into a country, that's never happened. However hostile you think the match would be, when you get a report to the Federation first, they know when you are coming, you go to the Federation, you have meetings, you inspect, they escort you here and there. Never happened. then unfortunately this is very bad. We are let down. We are let down despite what we went through there. But as I said, as far as we are concerned, is not of much importance. What's important is what they have carried onto our soil. If they had stopped it there, fine. But they had left it there, fine. But they brought it onto our own soil and causing everybody this embarrassment and inconvenience.
During COVID, with all the regulations at the airport, each member association or each country will travel to another country 17 hours before the kickoff of the game. Very abnormal. When health is paramount, it is, those protocols are not in the hands of football federations. The Gabonese decided to arrive in country 17 hours before the kickoff.
And sneaked in for that man. They sneak in. They sneak in because they will not let us know when they are arriving. Like their previous bosses sneaked in.
This has been disputed by firsthand workers who are there. You told us that the health workers who are there informed you that this never happened. They refused to present their company certificates. I just want to know whether the TFF have made efforts to confirm this afterwards. The other question is, during his press conference as well, he did mention the fact that Kerr rules that when a certain team player is tested positive for COVID and kept in that particular country, at least one member of the FA of the press country will stay with him. We want to know whether you are aware of this rules. If yes, why did someone stay behind with Suleiman Marreh? The final one is. It's been already about 5 days since this whole thing happened at the airport. We just want to know whether, of course, have contacted the TFF to have your side of the story.
Thank you, Mr. Ba. Let me start. Number one, it has been confirmed by the medical officials. I even had to reconfirm in the follow-up calls. I didn't talk to them directly, but General Secretary was talking to the chairman of the medical committee, was talking to them, because we try to minimize any would-be influence on what they are doing. But if there is need be that we can advise, we can do. But it has been confirmed, and I can tell you it has been confirmed, unless they can prove otherwise, that they have handed over, they have presented their test results at the airport. That has not been done. Number two, relation to Suleiman not being attended, as I said, that was it technical. The intention was that somebody was identified. But Suleiman is in Libreville, and the match was played in Franceville. The idea was for the guy to join him at Franceville, because when this happened, they were already going to Franceville, to go back. Yet, our friends in Gabon deceived us. They gave us the assurance that they were going to fly with that guy back to Libreville so they can stay with him. So that was a bottleneck. But it was not an easy period for the officials, and then. And hoping also maybe the next text, because Suleiman, up to now, you speak to him, he said he doesn't have a single symptom. Up to today, he is 100% fit. You talk to him every day, tell you, Uncle, I don't have a single symptom. That's very, because my worry is health. That's very, very assuring. Alhamdulillah, that health-wise, I know psychologically, mentally, you can't even, if it happened to any of us, it's not pleasant at all, it's not palatable. But the fact of the matter is that, alhamdulillah, is well and kicking. But the issue of somebody not saying was because we've been failed, our plan has been failed, and the last hour, it was difficult to do. The idea was, when we get back here, immediately after the match, one of the officials will join him. And we have since requested for them to issue visa to the officer to join them. Up to now, no response. I even had to write to Kerr this morning. I wrote to Kerr personally, to General Secretary and his deputy, asking them to prevail on the government to send us a visa to official to Gambia. But keep him company. But if you don't even know whether if anybody go, they wouldn't even allow the person to go into the hotel. It's a risky. It's a risky thing. It's a risky thing because now the way they are, I don't know. Because if they will not allow even some government to take provision here and there to him, it's difficult. So what we'll try to exhaust all avenues. And then the last one was, I didn't write that. No, they haven't. CAF hasn't contacted us yet. As the administration decided to refer the matter to the disciplinary committee, and so the matter would have been referred to the chairman, the committee through the chairman, and he will convene. And whether it's going to be virtual, whatever, they would send us whatever they want to hear from us. But we are prepared for that. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you very much. I'm Saleh Jara from Capital FM. Well, you did mention one of the officers spoke but can you take us through on the issue of passports? Because they also accused of fighting the seizing their passport and the airport.
He was not there. So the passport was not seized. But it's normal. When you travel, the passports are in the hands of the immigration. They will not give because they travel in bulk, like us when we are traveling. It's not individually because it's a team. No, you have the privilege. The immigration will not release the passports when the health people did not clear them. It's just logic. When we arrive there, they have a passport. Sometimes you go, in fact, remember, Angola. How many days did it take us to receive a passport from Angolans? Huh? Almost 3 days.
I had to report to President.
Yes, I had to talk to my colleague. He called them. When we went to Angola with national team, 3 days, we could not receive a passport. It was even in danger because it should be presented for the match. Just imagine. So that's normal. But what I can tell you, that's a story. The general was never there, so he didn't have the passport. Whoever must have had the passport would have done it for the fact that they are not cleared by the immigration. Simple.
Just, President, before commission, just to add to what you say, in fact, exactly that's what happened. When they arrived and the passport were done, the immigration, the health authorities at the airport are very powerful. So I don't know whether you guys know.
We don't know.
They have unprecedented powers when it comes to those who enter the country because of the coronavirus laws. So apparently when they refused to, when they were approached and refused to hand over their documents, it was the health officials who told the immigration that their passports should not be handed over to them. So the passports were given to them when like the president said, when the ambassador appealed and assured
the minister
and the ambassador and assured the health authorities that they can allow them to go to the hotel and they will be tested. That was the time their passport were handed over. Just for clarity, yeah? Yeah. So.
Hey, maybe. We didn't do anything with bad intention. If anything, our friends came in with bad intention.
given the facts.
I think the facts are there. What I told you, this are, so now you now weigh it against what they've said, and then if you want further investigation, you can do investigation and make your conclusions, or put the two sides before the masses to judge. No, that's out of topic. Maybe you have another time for that, please. How do you call it? Officially, we didn't post that officially because we tend to, it's not worth it. You know, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. It happens. We travel as in Angola. How many hours would you take to go? And it's happening everywhere. So those things are normal. Even as a private traveler, you go to the airport and you have your hitch here and there. So if somebody who can fly in a jet, but the jet can only stop at the airport. I wish the jet can land on the pitch, he play and leave.
I think, President, ladies and gentlemen of the press, we've heard Gabon arrived 5 minutes to midnight, and they left before 6. Let's do the math. They did not sleep. They were supposed to play at 4 o'clock the other day. They arrived at midnight. In a normal situation, airport protocols can take 2 hours.
Now, the Gabonese team haven't done the test. So who knows how many people must have had COVID in there? Because Suleiman Marreh had his 72 hours test certificate. He was in Belgium, boarded the flight in there, joined the chartered flight with the whole team, and he was the only person that came out positive. So who knows how many players we had exposed to COVID. So this is something that the media also has to pick up and make sure people understand. Because allowing them to interact with our players, some of our clubs, Usman, the team manager knows, he had to struggle to convince some of his players. Alassane Mane wouldn't be allowed to come. Suleiman Bojang, Noah, all those players were not allowed to come because they feared that those people might contract the COVID-19 virus. So if we allow our players to play with these people, and then these things were not taken, then which means we've exposed our players.
Okay. About our own internal protocols that was sent to them, and no club had an objection to it, despite the fact that they still, those who didn't release their players had good reasons, their own reason not to. We'll continue the dialogue with them. It has even started. I've seen some correspondence on that. So we'll try to work to capitalize on the existing good understand relations between them and us, and pray that the ultimate did not happen. But maybe team manager, you want to say one or two words, please?
No, in addition to that, I am the contact person when it comes to the communication to clubs. Clubs